Hey guys, Morgan here. It's Music Monday, so as you can see, I'm wearing a new Typo Negative shirt I got on some kind of GoFundMe crowd thing. I don't know, some kind of fun go fund yourself, go fuck yourself. I don't know, some weird shit like that. So I thought I'd do a retrospective on Typo Negative's career, talk a little bit about them, talk about their albums, talking mostly about Peter Steele. And his career and him and what happened with the band and all the tragedy that ended up happening with them. So all of their albums, I'm a huge fan of Typo Negative. I found Typo Negative back in 1992, 93-ish. They've had a long career. They've had some lineup changes over the years. Actually, no. Yes. No. Yes and no. I think they had one drummer change. The drummer went to another band. But probably some of you are familiar with Typo Negative, but not that familiar with it. And I want to talk about their early stuff. If I can find the album. Okay, so these are their two first albums. You have The Origin of the Feces, which came out, let's see, my eyes aren't so good, 1992-ish, looks like. Yeah, I believe, yeah, I love this inside. That's, a lot of you have seen that Typo Negative shirt with that on the back. I used to have that one, Express Yourself, Just Say Yes. Drugs, razor blade gun, and the noose. This album is, I think, after, the next album, which is Slow, Deep, and Hard. There's the back, and then this is the first time you see the Typo Negative symbol. If you really look at the pictures of these guys, oh man. Really funny looking. This is their first album. This sound on Slow, Deep, and Hard. Let's see if I can find a date on there. 1991. So they started out probably in around 1990, 1989 with Slow, Deep, and Hard. This was 7 songs. This is a totally different sound than what most people are used to with Typo Negative. They were going for more of a kind of a thrashy sound, like a thrash metal sound. And then with Origin of the Feces, some of you might be a little more familiar with the first song on here, which is I Know You're Fucking Someone Else, and Hey Pete. Yeah. I love this. Right at the bottom in green letters it says, do not take internally. Factory sealed for your protection. I believe at this album they still have the original drummer. I'm not exactly sure on that. I did not care for their first album. Origin of the Feces is okay. Then you get into, whoa, making a mess. Making a mess. Then you get to what came out in, I think, 1993 or 92, which is what everyone knows is, I think I cracked the album. Oh, no, I didn't. Which is Typo Negative's Bloody Kisses, which is not this shirt, but it's on the inside of the cover here. Let me open this up for you. I love it on the back. On the back, it's just got the 4 of them in front of a chapel in black and white, and it just says, "Don't mistake lack of talent for genius." Peter Steele was a very big smartass, and this is where you get the bloody kiss, or not the bloody kiss, but the green kiss that you see on a lot of their stuff. And then, of course, you have this famous scene with which has got a very beautiful woman laying down on an altar. The 3 of them below, and Peter Steele with a cross doing exactly what you think he is. This album is the one that really made me fall in love with the band. When I heard this, this was one of those albums that really changed up things for me. It was it was Peter Steele's voice, it was the style of music, it was, because, I mean, a lot of people don't want to put Typo Negative in that goth, but they really were sort of this first, I mean, you did have things like Sisters of Mercy, which kind of bordered on like a rock band, because, I mean, I like a lot of that goth stuff before, you know, Red Lorry, Yellow Lorry, The Cure, Alien Sex Fiend, and all of these gothy bands, but nothing had been heavy goth that really spoke to me in a way that Typo Negative did. There's also another version of Typo Negative. It's a more up-close picture of the two girls on the cover kissing. And on the back it's got some, like, it looks like pictures from a grave site. And on the inside, more of that stuff. And it's a complete fold out. Yeah, complete fold out. And of course it's in my car currently. These are the same exact songs except for Bloody Kisses is a longer version. In parentheses it says Death in the Family. I think, oh no, and then it's got Bloody, Black Number 1 has the Little Miss Scares All version. So it's got a couple of different versions. It's got a longer version of Bloody Kisses, and a much longer version of Black Number 1. Some of you have probably heard that longer version, but if you want that, that comes on this version. Not quite sure if it's still in print, but check that one out. Yeah, Bloody Kisses, I mean, oh my god, that album really, you know, let's pick the album back up. See, you had Christian Woman, which was their big hit, along with Black Number 1, which was also their big hit. Set Me on Fire. You had, they covered, is it Crosby, Stills and Nash that did Summer Breeze? I'm probably getting that wrong, but they covered Summer Breeze and did a very good version of that. And actually, I Know What You Did Last Summer, if you put that on, in the very, I think, 45 seconds, that is the song that's playing at the beginning of I Know What You Did Last Summer is Summer Breeze by Typo Negative. But this album honestly changed everything. I mean, there are a few albums out there that really changed things for me, as far as how I view music, and Bloody Kisses is definitely one of those, along with, like, when I found Primus, when I found Sailing the Seas of Cheese, when I found Primus, I was like, oh my gosh, this was the most bizarre thing, and I loved it. Also, when I found Ministry, Psalm 69 album, that album blew me away. I was just like, oh my god, I never heard anything like it. But that, Bloody Kisses. And then we have their next big studio album, which was called October Rust. It's got the Thorns on it. I like this. It's just, I love inside. He's always got a quote, "Functionalist art is simply tolerated vandalism." And then at the bottom it says, "We are the Vandals." You've got some trees and just a still shot of them. I really loved this. This came out in 1996-ish, late 96. I loved October Rust. Oh my god, I love this album. This Love You to Death was their big one. Be My Druidess, Green Man, My Girlfriend's Girlfriend, which was a really big hit. Cinnamon Girl, which was, I believe, an Ozzy Osbourne or Black Sabbath cover. Wolf Moon. Wolf Moon was such a great track. That, honestly, Wolf Moon might be my favorite track on this whole album, but this is a much different album than Bloody Kisses. Love You to Death was slowed down, had a lot more piano in it. Same with, like, Be My Druidess. But then again, you had a little more of this. My girlfriend's girlfriend was a little less heavy and a little more, had a little more weirdness to it. It had kind of a 60s vibe, had a lot more organ in it. And then Cinnamon Girl was a really good remake. And I believe that was either Ozzy Osbourne or Black Sabbath cover. I'm almost positive. And then Wolf Moon was sort of a return to Bloody Kisses. It sounded a little more like Bloody Kisses. But this album is amazing. If you've never heard Typo Negative, yeah, if you've never heard Typo Negative, this is their easiest album for mainstream. I hate to use mainstream, but this is the most digestible album for most people. So if you're going to start with Typo Negative, I would definitely start with October Rust. This is probably a good album to start with. Well, and I will mention this. I did bring this in here. This came out second to last, and this is called The Least of the Worst. Of course, Peter Steele has great humor. It's got all four of them in suits on the back, and this is his best of album, put out by Roadrunner, and of course it's in my car as well. It's got all those guys standing in this looks like bamboo or something, or grass. And there's another quote on the back: "Better to be hated for who you are than loved for what you're not." Oh, Peter Steele. This has some stuff off of I thought it did. Yeah, this one has stuff off their first stuff like Hey Pete. And it has a different mix of Cinnamon Girl. It's called the Depressed Mix Mode. Unsuccessfully Coping with Beauty and the Natural Beauty of Infidelity. I believe that's off of their very first album. I think that was the only one on here. But this is another one. This has got all their hits. It's got Everyone I Love Is Dead, Black Number One, Love You to Death, Christian Woman, My Girlfriend's Girlfriend. And that's also a remix. It's called the Cheese Organ Mix. So if you've never heard Typo Negative, this might be the one to start with. Personally, I think start with October Rust. I believe that's a much better album. So the next album they came out with, which I believe was about 98, I think about 98, they came out with World Coming Down. World Coming Down. Peter, and I love this, Peter wore a lot of, what would we call that, army green or forest green. Let's see, it's in the disc is in here. She's got a shot, I think, of the Brooklyn Bridge. This album, when it first came out, I did not like it. This one is one of those, it grows on you. Let's see. Doesn't have any of the tracks on the back. I'm trying to think of off the top of my head here. Of course, it's kind of a mess. Yeah, I'm not going to go too much into this album. This is, if you really get into Typo Negative and you really love Typo Negative, then this would be, by October Rust, if you like that, get Bloody Kisses, of course. I think you will love Bloody Kisses. This one, there's one more album I'm going to go over before, but this one I would wait until you really fell in love with the band before you buy it, because this one takes some time to grow on you. But when it does, this is a very solid album. This was still one of their better albums. And then their next album, which was, there was a pretty big gap in between that and Life Is Killing Me, because Peter Steele was in Rikers for a while doing some time. So it's just got the cover with the, and I've actually got that tattooed right there. You can see that. Got the Typo Negative symbol with the green blip, heartbeat blip through it. So I've got that tattooed on me as well, if you guys can see that. Needs to be touched up. Huge Typo Negative fan. Yeah, it's got all four of them with their feet like their corpses. This was a very, very good album. The big ones off of this is I Don't Want to Be Me, I like Goils. I said Goils instead of girls. Life is Killing Me. Angry Inch, which was on the Hedwig and the Angry Inch. I believe that was on that soundtrack. Anesthesia, which is probably my favorite song on the whole album. The Dream is Dead. Oh my god, this thing is a dish best cold served coldly. I mean, this whole album is solid. This is really great Typo Negative. Oh, it's got another quote. If gods were suddenly condemned to live the life which he has inflicted on man, he would kill himself. Peter Steele, he's very great at that kind of stuff. So yeah, Life is Killing Me. I highly recommend this, but I would wait until I got the October Rust and Bloody Kisses, then purchase this album. But I think you will not be disappointed with this. In my opinion, too, Anesthesia is the standout track on that album. And their last album, which is called Dead Again, it has a picture of Rasputin on it. If you don't know who Rasputin is, look it up. And I love it's just this strange old picture of these 4 girls in black and white on the back. Probably before the turn of the century. Not sure what that is in reference to. You've got the Crown of Thorns in there. Yeah, this was not their. This was their worst out. It's unfortunately not a very good. I like September Sun, Halloween in Heaven. September Sun and Halloween in Heaven are the standout tracks on this. There was only 10 songs. Cannot read that. I don't have my glasses on. There is another quote on here. Sorry guys, I can't read it. This album was not very good, unfortunately, and it's sad that it was their last one. So let's go back to it and do a little history. Peter Steele is the bass player of the band. Peter Steele was 7 foot tall. 7 foot tall. He's a big man. He struggled with some things in life. He was very open about being bipolar. In the very beginning of his career, there are also 2 documentaries out there. The first one's called After Dark, and I can't remember the other one. After Dark, if you can find it on DVD, good luck. I've tried several times to get it on eBay and always gotten outbid. I used to have both of them on VHS. Oh, no. A buddy of mine burned them on DVD. I actually have both on DVD now. So I do have those on a burned disc. But there are VHS copies of it. They were kind of like those, would show live footage and then it would go to some backstage. Pantera did the same thing. A lot of bands do the same thing, and they're very funny. There's a lot of funny stuff. But Peter Steele always claimed to be an atheist. So a lot of the stuff that he wrote about in the very beginning, especially Bloody Kisses, October, not maybe so much on October Rust, but definitely on Life is Killing Me. That album. Yeah, Life is Killing Me. Oh, and World Coming Down. He talks a lot about God, atheism, being a lot of anti-Christian stuff. And he struggled with addiction. He was a bad alcoholic. Struggled with cocaine, but he also struggled with, he wanted to be healthy. And he'll talk about a lot of that. He's tried to stay in really good shape. Took a lot of vitamins. He was very much into health and nature. He actually started out as he worked for the city of New York. He lived in Brooklyn. He worked for the city, and he worked for the Parks and Recreation. And he said he really loved that job, being out in the park and just being one with nature. He always talked about a lot of being at nature, being with nature, and that's a lot of his imagery. You see a lot of that, especially on October Rust, that album. He seemed like like I said, he suffered from bipolar. He seemed like a man that was deeply depressed a lot of the time. Unfortunately, he did pass away. I believe it was back in 2000 2011, 2010, somewhere in there, 2011, 2000, between 2010 and 2012, somewhere in that period, he passed away, unfortunately, from heart failure. Because, and I will say this, in the last couple, I think, 2 or 3 years of his life, he gave up drinking completely, and he found God, and was very open about that, and being Christian, and going back to church, and believing in God. And it's funny because they always say there are no foxhole atheists, and he sort of proved that wrong. And like I said, I think he was a man with a lot of problems. Dealing with mental illness is tough. And so I think that sort of reflects in this album. I think the fact that he gave up alcohol. I think this album very much has a different sound to it, lyrically and musically. Like I said, it's not a bad album necessarily. There are a couple, like I said, Tripping a Blind Man, Dead Again is pretty good. September Sun, and like I said, September Sun and Halloween in Heaven is probably the 2 tracks that stand out. But Peter Steele was a great guy, very smart, very intelligent, very much into philosophy, understood a lot about music, and he was just a he was the backbone of the band. Unfortunately, he was the bass player and the singer. So when he passed away, that was the end of the band. It's not like, if the drummer passes away, and I would even say the guitar player's name is Kenny. Kenny was a really great guitar player. I think without Kenny or Peter Steele, the album just simply wouldn't have worked, or none of the albums would have worked. The two of them worked very well together. Josh Silver, who was the keyboard player, also I think clicked very well with the band. And actually, the drum tech replaced the original drummer, so he ended up being the drummer of the band. But they had a great career. A lot of ups and downs, like I said. Peter struggled with cocaine as well. He was arrested for assaulting a man. He did some time in Rikers Island. He did some time in residential psychiatric treatment. He actually did, he was in a centerfold shoot for Playgirl. Peter Steele made no... Peter Steele never hid the fact that he was very well hung. He was a very big man. Like I said, he was 7 foot tall. From any interviews I ever heard, though, Peter Steele was always a very nice man. Very easy to get along with. Like I said, he suffered from bipolar, but I think over his career, he went on tour with a lot of great bands. They went out on tour with Pantera, and they were just an amazing band. Unfortunately, I never got to see Type O Negative, which is unfortunate because I had a chance to see them on October Rust, but I couldn't, unfortunately, get a time off from my current job at the time. I should have just told them to go fuck themselves, quit, and went out and did it, and just found another job, which is what a lot of people, I think, forget. And I think that's a really good point to make at the end of this is I think Peter Steele died at the age of 49. He wasn't even 50. So remember that, people. When there are things that come along that are super important to you, unless you're holding down a job where you're making $100,000 a year, sometimes if work gets in the way of doing things that are fun and things that may just, you'll have that experience that will last forever. Sometimes it's okay to tell your job to go fuck yourself and go out and enjoy the world and see things and experience and never forget that in a blink of an eye it can all be gone. So don't forget that, guys. It's one of those things. There's another band, like The Cure. I've still never seen The Cure. I've had a couple of opportunities. Now they're much older. They don't tour that much. It's just one of those things where, I've seen tons and tons of bands, but The Cure and Type O Negative, I could still see The Cure if on some off chance that they toured somewhere and I was able to see them, but I will unfortunately never be able to see Type O Negative. But that's it, guys. I just wanted to kind of give a history of Type O Negative. I'll look back at those guys, talk a little bit about Peter Steele and the band, and like I said, if you have questions or anything, about Typo Negative. As always, my email's below. Yeah, message me if you got some questions about the band. Like I said, really, I would start with October Rust. Or I would even say start with Bloody Kisses. There's still some tracks on there, but I think for the gist, if you like goth music, real goth music, not what people think is goth, like Slipknot, because that's not goth, but real goth music, or, you know, things like, I would even put, like, if you like Marilyn Manson, you'll probably like Typo Negative. And if you like Marilyn Manson, you probably already know who Typo Negative is. So, like I said, if you've never heard of them, just get on YouTube, check out some of the tracks I talked about, you know, some like Black, you know, get on YouTube, hit, you know, type in Typo Negative Black #1, or Christian Woman, or My Girlfriend's Girlfriend, or something like Cinnamon Girl. I think those are the tracks that you'll end up enjoying. So, but if you got questions, as always, guys, my email is always in the description down below. Feel free to email and ask me anything you want. So that's it for Music Monday, guys. Thanks for watching.